Kyler from Team Vanderp, here to bring a deck profile on my Gear Chronicles Zodiac Time Beast deck. Last weekend, me and 4 of my other teammates went to the IYG Stand Up Series for their case tournament, and I got first place with my Zodiac Time Beast deck, so we'll get right into it. So my starting Vanguard is Pulsar Sentry Draco Kid. I run not 1 or 2, but I run 3 of it. The card effect is the main reason why this deck is actually good. Its first effect is non-GB. Reveal a gear classes from hand, and then you can bind the top card at the beginning of your ride phase, so it accelerates your bind zone. And the GB1 effect is Soul Blast 1, retire it, and if you have a gear classes Vanguard, bind the top card. If it's a Zodiac Time Beast, you draw a card. Next, we'll go for the grade 3s. We run 4 Pulsar Drastic Colossus. This is the main grade 3 for the deck. His on-place effect is discard a card, reveal the top 3 cards, add 1 to hand, 1 to bind, and 1 to drop. And then his stride break effect is when you stride, you get to draw a card, and then bind a card from your hand, and your Vanguard gets 1k for every bound card. And then the last grade 2 is if you don't finish them with Demiurge, of course you guys probably know this, you have Chronojet Dragon G. Everybody should know his effect. On stride, during your turn you can time leap any unit. If you stride a Gear Dragon or Zodiac Time Beast, so all the strides are Zodiac Time Beast in the deck. And then his other continuous ability is when he's on the Vanguard circle, he gets +5 for every 2 face up in the G zone, and then all your rear guards that are Zodiac Time Beast get +1. Onto the grade 2s, the bread and butter of the deck. The best card for Zodiac Time Beast, Pulsar Rewind Tiger. On place, you counterblast 1, rest a Zodiac Time Beast. When he's placed, you can pay the cost if you do bind the top card of your deck. If the card has a ZTB, you draw a card and he gets +2k for the rest of the turn, so he becomes a 10k. He's non-GB, that's why the deck is actually consistently good. You can get your binding early as possible, which what excels this deck, because a lot of decks take a lot of setup nowadays. So anything that can rush your opponent down is really good. Run 2 Pulsar Battle Laser Dragon. He's the 11k base. He can only attack the Vanguard if you have 1 or more bound card. Otherwise, he can attack a rear guard. And then his other effect is Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1. When he's in the bind zone, you can call him the rear guard circle, and then you may bind the top card of your deck. So he's pretty good, especially you can bind him and then actually utilize him later on throughout the game if you want to make sure you have an attacker. The next, we run 2 of the 10k vanilla, the Chronospin Serpent. These are your 2 ride targets throughout the entire game. You never want to ride this. Half the time that I opened this and I didn't have another grade 2, I would never ride, because I don't want to ride an 8k base, especially with how good his effect is at rear guard. Next, we run 2 Pulsar Duplex Dragon, probably my favorite grade 2 in the deck. On place, Soul Blast 1. If you have a grade 3 specifically, Vanguard, that's a ZTB. You pay the cost if you do bind the top card, and whatever you bind, you rewind a card with equal or lesser value. So it's a guarantee starter rewind. You can possibly, if you get lucky, you can rewind. You can bind it at grade 3, and then you can rewind any card pretty much on the field. And the last card is Pulsar Tamer Lugal. He is an 11k attacker as long as you have a ZTB Vanguard, and that's non-GB. And then his GB effect is Soul Blast 1. When you reveal a grade 3, you could time leap him. So if you get the actual grade 3 early on, he's pretty decent. So that is it for the grade 2s. On to the grade 1s. Grade 1s, of course, we run 4 ZTB Stride Fodder. Pretty self-explanatory, you need to stride with the deck. So, of course, you want to run the ZTB one also. 4 Arca. Best PG, in my opinion, one of the best in the game, especially for this deck specifically. Since you can recycle your bind zone, its GB2 is amazing, allowing you, if I had 10 cards in the bind zone, I can perfect guard 2 of these and then bind a trigger that's not in the bind zone and bind her, so that puts me to 12 for the Demiurge turn. So I did that a lot, especially at the stand-up tournament, so a lot of people were questioning why I was doing it, but in the end it actually won me 99% of the games, because I perfect guard a perfect and then make sure I have a trigger in the drop zone that I didn't care about. Next, 2 Rad. Rad's extremely good, especially if you open them up early game. Even if you go first, you tap your starter, and then bind him and draw a card. So it also accelerates your bind zone. And then his GB1 effect actually saved me a couple times. Counterblast 1, and then you bind the top card of the deck, and then you can call him to the Guardian Circle. So it's another way to guard with the deck. My favorite card against Narukami and Kaihiro, I put her specifically in there to counter both those decks. As long as you have a ZTB Vanguard, she gets intercept, and then she also can intercept from the back row. And then her other effect is, as long as she is rested, this card cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects. So Blade Master with Ziegenberg, there is always a -1 for Ziegenberg. So they have the discard 1, and then they would never be able to get their GB2 off as long as this card is on the board. So for the last 2 grade 1s, I run 1 Pulsar Tamer Hegald. His effect, when you place him, you can Soul Charge 1, and then his other effect is you can, you have to be GB1 for that. And his other effect is when you have a grade 4 Vanguard, you can Soul Blast 1 and put him in another unit to the bottom of the deck and counter charge 1. And the last grade 1 is 1 Chrono Ethos Jackal, just the 11k attacker, and it's just a name pretty much. So you can honestly run whatever grade 1s you want to. In the end, it's just as long as you have different names, that's the biggest thing. And then for triggers, we run 2 Rabbit, 2 Boar, 2 Dog, and 1 Bison, 7 crits, of course, 2 of each, so then you have the different names and you really don't want to bind that many of the same name. 2 draw triggers, the Sheep and the Monkey. And then by far like one of the best stand triggers in the entire game, 4 of the stand trigger Sheep. This actually wins a lot of games for me too. If I have 2 of these when I go into Demiurge and I just drop my entire hand regardless of what it is, I can stand the unit that I gave the 3 crit to 2 times, so it attacks 3 times with the Vanguard. So it's, if your opponent doesn't have 3 perfect guards, or pretty much 3 perfect guards, because they're going to use all their G guards in grade 1 or grade 0s to guard the Vanguard, they're not going to be able to guard. And then of course 2 of each shield trigger, just for the names. So that's the main deck. For the Stride Zone, you run 2 Alter Dragon. He's by far the best stride setup for Demiurge. You can counterblast 1 and bind a Zodiac Time Beast from your hand to stride him instead of paying the cost of stride. So it accelerates your bind zone. His flip effect is you can flip a unit and then check the top 5 and bind 2, and then he gets plus 2k for each. And then if you have 5 or more in the bind zone, you can countercharge. And normally what you flip with them is 2 Metal Pulsar, Split Pegasus. You just use them pretty much for the plus 1k to the front row on your turn for the ZTBs. 2 of the big boy himself, Deus Ex Machina Demiurge. This card is phenomenal in this deck. I love the card artwork when he first came out. I love the card in itself, but when he first came out, there was, I think, only 12 Zodiac Time Beasts, so it was pretty hard to get his effect up. But his effect is, when you have 12 different Zodiac Time Beasts in the bind zone, you can send them from the bind zone to the graveyard or drop zone, and then take 12 cards from your drop zone and stack them to the top of your deck in any order. And then for that battle that Demiurge attacks, they can't use grade 1s or higher from hand. So you combo him with the grade 3 Stride Break, he'll get plus 12 normally, so he'll be sitting by himself at 38, so it's extremely hard to guard him, especially since the guard restrict. 2 Avian or Phoenix. This is also a pretty good, if they survive the Demiurge, you can go into this and set up your the top cards of your deck to go into a pretty decent play with this, pretty much. Otherwise, you normally go into Chrono Dragon Gear Next. Gear Next is by far way superior, in my opinion, to Next Stage in this deck for the fact that you also restack your deck. Puts the cards at the bottom, so you can put triggers that you don't want in your hand, or if you have useless like grade 3s or something like that, you can cycle them to the bottom. Yeah, the Next Stage also has its pluses for the mere fact that you power up the rear guards, but I just like the Gear Next for the fact that he gains power after he attacks. So, and if you stack a crit, you can stack it on him, and then you're forcing your opponent to guard another attack from. And then we run 1 of the Mystery Freeze, just for sometimes you just don't have like a great drop zone, and then you can put grade 1s and grade 3s back, so then you can bind, and then after if they survive the Demiurge turn, you go into this and then you just tell them they can't use perfect guards. If you hit a grade 1 off, it's bind, and then if you get a grade 3, you get your quad drive. And then for the G guards, we run 2 of the old Uluru. I rarely honestly went into this because I wanted to keep my triggers in the drop zone. It was pretty, like, if I had a draw trigger or something like that in there, I'd put the draw trigger back, but otherwise I didn't want to take my crits out or my heals because I wanted to sack them for the Demiurge turn. One header around, since we actually do run Chrono Jet, this actually saved me a couple times because people would, like, I'd go up against Vanquisher and they drop a Descendant and it would have like 3 crit on it, then I just header around it, so then I didn't have to worry about anything. Rafana was probably the best G guard because you can take a Tiger from your grade 2 turn and then rewind that into the starter. So then you have, if you had 1 starter out, now you have 2, so you can bind the top 2 cards instead. So it accelerates a little bit. And then of course one of the new Alluru for the fact that you just counter West 1, you get +5 for every card in the G zone that's face up. So that is pretty much it for the deck profile. If you guys have any questions about it or want to know any of the matchups, you can comment below and then we can make another video if necessary. But that is it. Thanks guys, bye.